Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing another armor plate test today. Today we're going to be looking at the LA Police Gear Level 3. Now I've done a Level 3 plate before, however this one is going to be a ceramic plate, so we should be getting some hopefully interesting results compared to some other tests I've done. We're on a live range today to be able to do this test, so it might get a little bit noisy. We're just going to power through. We're first going to be looking at how this thing handles getting shot, and we're probably going to evaluate it back in the studio. That way we don't have to worry about finding a quiet moment in between shots to talk about this. So we're gonna start out where we did last time with a level 3 plate, and that is with the FN57 cartridge. We're gonna be starting with just the standard 27 grain all copper bullet and see what that does against our level 3. We're going to be just seeing what penetrates, if anything, as well as any back face deformation that we experience along the way. So it should be a fun ride. Let's see what happens. All right, so first up we've got the 27 grain solid copper from FN. This is what defeated the level 3 we've tested before. See how it handles the 3 ceramic. So we had impact where we wanted in this top corner here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of the fracturing from the ceramic layer underneath that blew out the side. However, there's a lot of articles that have been posted recently talking about how you don't get spall from ceramic, but there were ceramic shards that came out. We have really no back face deformation at all. I can just barely feel where there's a little bump there. You're probably not going to be able to see it on camera, but there's just by feel a little bit, but that's it. It definitely stopped it, no problem. Although it is interesting seeing how much it blew out hitting that close to the corner. But you can definitely feel the ceramic flakes still in there. So let's go ahead and move up to something a little bit bigger. All right, so next up we're doing some full metal jacket, 123 grain, 762 by 39. Same stuff I used last time. Biggest difference is we're using a Bakelite mag, giving it all the juice we can. So let's see what happens. So you can probably see from this giant hole here where we hit, and we did stop it. It has some pretty drastic back face deformation, but it definitely stopped it. It's pretty interesting being able to see inside that hole. I don't know if you'll be able to see in there. Let me grab some illumination, my Streamlight Micro Stream, but it's a pretty cavernous hole in there. Again, not sure how well you're getting this. Kind of interesting. Again, I can see little shards in there, but it definitely stopped the round. So let's go on to something else. We'll just keep it with the Soviet calibers real quick and jump to 5.45. All right, so up next we have the Poison Bullet, the 5.45 by 39, 7 and 6. This has a mild steel core, so we'll see if this will go through. Again, using a Bakelite mag to give it its full potential here out of my new American-made Riley Defense AK-74. Let's see what happens. All right, so we've got another large impact site here. You can see that this is all starting to fray out here, but it did stop the round. Probably, well, it definitely not as much back face deformation as a 7.62 by 39, but it did stop the mild steel core of that. There's just mud on here, if you can tell. My box full of mud got covered in mud somehow. Weird how that happens. Again, we can still see inside. We can actually see more clearly what's going on in there. You can see the kind of foam padding going around the whole thing to protect the ceramic. But again, we did stop it. Probably a little bit of blow through of ceramic coming out the side, but that is nowhere near as dangerous as the actual spall coming from the bullet. So let's keep on keeping on. All right, next up we've got standard 55 grain XM193 full metal jacket. Doing it out of a 16-inch barrel on my ARX 100. I don't know, if we do it with a 10.5-inch, people are going to wonder what would happen if I had more velocity. Since 16 inch is so common, we're going to go ahead and start with 16, and we'll just go from there. Alright, so we've got, again, a big hole there from the 5.56. However, we did stop it. Once again, not as much back face deformation as the 7.62 by 39. Probably about on par, maybe a little bit more than the 5.45. So because it stopped this, I'm going to go ahead and do the one that I'm honestly the most interested to see, and that is the green tip 62 grain. With a mild steel core, and see if that went through, since that did defeat the last set of level 3 armor that I tested. Alright, 62 grain green tip, again out of a 16-inch barrel. See what happens. That was interesting. Alright, so the reason I said that's interesting, and you probably already saw this in the slow-mo, there was actually a little spark that I saw, but hit right where I wanted to. Again, still pretty close to the edge here. Again, another big crater, but great news, we did stop it. So that's really exciting to see. Again, like I've said in previous videos, if this is the first you've seen, I'll go ahead and reiterate here. The NIJ rating does not include 62 grain green tip. But it's really good to see it stop it anyway, and I think a lot of that is that ceramic front sheet that's really helping to slow those things down and cause it to break up a lot faster, or at least slow down a lot faster and not bust through. So again, actually we're probably looking at more back face deformation. It's hard to tell because now the whole back face is being compromised, but again, it did stop it. That's really great to see. Alright, so now we're really going to step it up in size. We've got 150 grain full metal jacket 30-06. This is Garand spec M2 ball. So I would do 308, 308 or 7.62 NATO is what level 3 is rated for as far as ball ammo goes. However, 150 grains going 2,800 feet per second at a 308 is going to be the same as a 150 grain 308 bullet going 2,800 feet per second out of a 30-06. In this case, I have my absolutely gorgeous Springfield 03A3. Let's go ahead and see what happens. I'm going to just make it a little bit brighter here. Let's have a crack at it. I hope if I had my magazine cutoff off. Alright, so our plate's pretty compromised. We hit down here and we got a lot of back face deformation here. Now, the way it's folded up, I do think we still caught the round. Now, this is some very significant back face deformation. You would not have a good time. You can see ceramic raining out of that probably. Let's see the way it's folded in there. It's going to be really hard to do this, but yeah, I can see the jacket. There's no way to get you guys in here to see it, but I can see the jacket and everything down inside there. So even though it blew out the side, it did catch it. You're going to have a really bad day still with this much back face deformation, but it did stop it. I've been intentionally trying to leave an area more or less clean because I have something that should be able to defeat this, and now it'll actually be a grand finale since it stopped the green tip 5.56. So keeping with the 30-06, now we're moving on, as you can barely tell here. We've got some of the black tip M2 AP. This is specifically designed to be an armor penetrating round. This is what level 4 is designed to stop, so this is absolutely not rated for this, but I want to see a nice clean pass through, so shout out to, never mind, movie buffs or no, the pass-through reference. We'll go ahead and just hopefully put a nice hole in this thing. That was a Neil Breen reference for anyone who was curious. All right, so we hit right about here in the center. Again, some very clearly broken ceramic, although honestly not as big of an entry hole as some of the others. And while the rear of this plate is hardly recognizable, we did get a nice clean pass through on that. Well, probably not clean. The bullet's probably pretty well tumbling once it's getting past there. But did go through the box and exited the box as well. So we did defeat it with something designed specifically to defeat it. So not terribly surprising. I think this thing served valiantly, but let's go ahead, go back into the studio, talk about my thoughts on this and what it's actually like to wear a set of these plates. All right, so we had some pretty interesting, I will say, results out at the range, and some results I was frankly very happy to see. Now, I'm not the first person to test these plates. I know Mr. Guns and Gear has done a video testing out these plates, so I kind of had an idea of what to expect, but it's always good to see multiple examples on the same style of plate, just so that we can get a little bit more statistically significant data. If it happens with one plate, that's really good information, but if it is repeatable across multiple plates, across multiple reviewers ideally, then we have a much better idea of what that plate is capable of. So I was really happy to actually get my hands on these ones and experience them for myself. So to kind of recap what happened, obviously it stopped the 5.7 no problem. While 5.7 is a armor piercing round to some people, by some people's definition, it is definitely not a rifle rated armor piercer. It's really only for soft armor. And even then, that can be a little dodgy, as you saw in the test that I did of some level 3A plates. But it definitely stopped all of the calibers and then some that level 3 is rated for. So once again, level 3 goes up to and including 308 ball. In this case, I did 30-06 because, again, bullet going the same velocity doesn't really matter whether it's out of a 308 or a 30-06 in my mind. Granted, some commercial spec 30-06 is different, but M2 spec at least is effectively the same as 308, and the plate did stop it. We were able to defeat it, however, with... I went ahead and grabbed the plate that we actually shot. We did bust through it with the black tip 30-06, but again, that is totally to be expected. That is well outside of the level 3 rating, and that is why level 4 exists. But again, it handled everything it needed to. But importantly to me, what it was able to stop was M855, or the green tip mild steel penetrating 5.56 rounds. So that is outside of the NIJ level 3 testing, which is why some in the industry have created their own internal 3+. However, 3+ is not an official NIJ rating, hence why they only advertise this as an NIJ certified level 3, even though it can stop what level 3+ is designated to stop. So that was a really good thing. And again, this thing multi-hit rated for sure. It took a lot of impacts from a lot of intermediate calibers before finally succumbing to the armor piercing 30-06. Honestly, if you're standing in line waiting for people to light you up several times, then your tactics probably suck. But again, this was able to stop everything it needed to. And honestly, with a lot of those intermediate calibers with backface deformation that I would say, while probably uncomfortable, are not going to be as traumatizing to your body as some other plates that I've seen in the past. So since we've talked about what this thing was able to stop and kind of my thoughts on that, let's go ahead and talk about what it's like to wear. Hence why I'm wearing my HRT plate carrier here. I was going to test out one of the LA Police Gear plate carriers, but we weren't able to make that happen. So I just used a carrier that I already used. And when it comes to what it's like to wear, a lot of that's going to come down to the weight and the thickness of this plate. So the weight, I actually weighed it myself using my kitchen scale. So who knows how properly calibrated that thing is, but my measurement actually came slightly under the advertised weight. So mine was 5.24. I'm looking at my little cheat sheet up here, 5.24 pounds. So just a skosh below the advertised weight. So that's all fine and dandy. That being said, I measured the thickness myself. They say that the main body thickness is 0.75. I find it to be a little bit thicker than that. And then it's got padding around the edge of it to help protect the ceramic. You know, for those of you who don't know, kind of like a, you know, motorcycle helmet or something like that. If you drop it, you're supposed to, in theory, retire it because you don't know if the ceramic's been broken. However, adding a pad around the perimeter of it and even on the front face of it, as I found when it started shredding apart, that is going to prolong the life of that ceramic and maintain its structural integrity, which is a good thing in this case. However, the outer thickness they advertise to be 1 inch. I measured it slightly thicker at 1.15, so close, but it is a pretty thick plate. So how does that translate to how it is to wear? So if we combine 2 plates together, a front plate and a back plate, we are looking at just over 10 pounds, about 10.5 pounds between the front and back. Not the lightest plates by any stretch of the imagination, not the heaviest plates either, for what that's worth. And it is fairly on the thick side. Now, a lot of plates that I've been seeing recently are going with that thicker material to kind of reduce weight, and they have to add thickness as a result to use a lighter weight material. So it's not terribly uncommon, but really what that weight does is the thickness does is it pushes everything you've attached to your plate carrier further out. So if I stand in profile here, you can see, you know, the thickness of the plates makes these magazines and everything start further out, which means the weight is further away from my center of gravity, which is going to increase how heavy things feel over time. So if I have a whole bunch of mags out here and I've got other accessories and ammo and GPS and everything else, I'm going to start noticing that weight faster. And especially if I have my rifle slung, now I have the weight of the rifle further away from me. So that can just increase how heavy things feel over time, even if everything weighs out to being exactly the same. In your subjective experience, it's going to be a little bit different. Again, not terribly uncommon for a plate of this thickness on the market right now, but just to let you guys know about that. So let's go ahead and talk about the pros and cons of this specific plate. Basically, is this going to be a worthwhile plate for you to buy? So first and foremost, to me, one thing that I'm really happy that it does, and why it's probably going to be replacing the plates that I've been running that are lighter weight level 3 plates, is that these stop green tip 5.56. And to me, you know, the whole reason the ATF was not able to ban M855 previously is because it was deemed a legal definition of in common use, which means a lot of people have green tip. And so I want to make sure that I am able to withstand those types of threats. And that means being able to stop green tip 5.56. If that's not something you're concerned about, you can definitely run some lighter weight plates. I want that rating on what I'm going to be wearing personally. One of the other pros is that it's going to have that foam protection around the ceramic, again prolonging the life of that ceramic, making them quite a bit less fragile. Again, if you hit that thing wrong, you can shatter it internally, and unless you have an x-ray, you're not going to know that for sure until it's too late, I guess, to put it that way. So being able to have something that gives me just a little bit more warm, fuzzy feeling about how I can treat those plates is, in my opinion, again, another good thing. And they are relatively light. Again, they're far from the lightest level 3 plates out there on the market, but compared to some other alternatives, especially in the realm of steel, it's definitely lighter weight, and especially if we're talking about steel that's going to actually stop M193 or regular 55 grain bullets out of a 20-inch barrel. That is not something I'm concerned about here, but something you have to be concerned about with steel, so you have to go thicker on the steel plates to protect yourself from that. So again, if we're considering other budget alternatives, this is going to be lighter weight than those. However, to me, the biggest pro is going to be the price. These things are extremely well priced, in my opinion. And obviously this is subject to change, but at least as of the time of making this video, these things run, I think, $114.99, or basically 115 bucks per plate. So you can get a set of plates under 250 bucks. And again, at least as of the time of making this video, they are in stock and ready to ship. There's a lot of armor providers on the market. that do not have their product in stock and have a lead time of like 6 to 8 weeks, and sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. In this case, they are in stock, ready to go, which is a really good thing, because I think everyone who is kind of liberty-minded should have a set of rifle plates accessible to them. That is one of our freedoms as Americans, and one I think we should all exercise. And the sooner you can get those, the better. Now, these do come with some cons. Again, when you're getting into something this cheap, you're making some compromises. You have to, just logistically. So a couple of those are going to be, again, the weight. So while it is lighter than some alternatives, there are plenty of other options that are lighter than these ones. Typically, though, you're going to be at least doubling the cost to get to that ultra lightweight plate. So that is something we're sacrificing by keeping that price so low. So again, a little bit heavier, and then also they're going to be a little bit thicker than some of the alternatives, because they aren't able to use some of that fancy space age material that some of the other ones are. And then kind of most importantly to me is that it's a single curve plate. So single curve means that there's only a curve in this axis here. There is no curve. It's just a flat front here. And what that also translates to is, again, if we're looking at my profile here, the top of this plate sits way further out from my body than something with a single or double curve, which is going to kind of come closer to touching my what is this, basically my chest, my higher chest up here. So I didn't take anatomy and physiology, I apologize. So double curve or multi-curve is definitely far more comfortable and user-friendly than a single curve. But again, that's something we're sacrificing when we're keeping the cost at the cost of this type of plate. So if there was really one big con that I think is worth discussing, it is that single curve. Again, multi-curve is far more comfortable, but again, going to jump up considerably in cost. If you're willing to deal with the single curve, honestly, I think this is a fantastic option. Again, it gives you, in my opinion, one of the best possible ratings for threats you're likely to face as a civilian. The likelihood of people running around with M2AP is probably pretty low. However, the number of people out there running 5.56, 7.62 by 39, heck, pistol calibers like 9mm, this thing will stop without hardly flinching. So you have a lot of security, again, against what I think are your most likely threats. And it's also worth considering when we're talking about armor like this, while again, there might be nicer options that are multi-curve and lighter weight and everything else on the market, being considerably more expensive, it's going to take longer to get to. And I don't think that it's a terrible thing to maybe get into something a little bit more budget-minded that's going to still do the task that you ask of it, while you save up to get those nicer things, because there is a point of diminishing returns. If you go too cheap and you're not getting the protection you need, you honestly might as well save your money. But at this point, again, if it's stopping the threats that I want it to stop, I can at least have something, which is far better than nothing if you're worried about getting shot in the chest or in the back. And then, again, save up to get something a little bit nicer. And then I can always use this backup set either for exercising and kind of aerobic training to make sure that I can handle the heavier weight of a plate carrier, so that when I do drop to my actual working one, I have a little bit better stamina, or just having an extra set of plates to throw into a spouse's or a child's armor kit to keep them better protected when you're not worried about them having to run around and do all kinds of tactical LARP stuff. So again, in my opinion, it's worth having something that will at least do the task that you ask of it, while you then wait to get something a little bit nicer for yourself in the future. So if you're interested in purchasing a set of these plates, I'll have a link down below. Full disclosure, if you do use that link, I will get a small percentage of the sales through LA Police Gear. If you don't like that, you are more than welcome to Google the LA Police Gear Level 3 plates yourself and completely bypass my part of it. But if you do want to support the channel, that is a way to do it. And again, I think you're getting a very, very high value system in a plate like this one. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, definitely throw that in the comment section down below. If you have plates that you like, especially in this price range, that you can recommend or you want to see me test, definitely let me know. And if there's other stuff from LA Police Gear specifically that you want me to test out, again, let me know. I'll do my best to get my hands on whatever I can and bring my opinions to you guys that way. I will do my last little plug here for my Patreon page. Ammo is not cheap, and stuff like M2AP is not super plentiful. So it's because of my contributions over on Patreon that I'm able to do tests like this, where I put a wide variety of ammo through a wide variety of firearms into a plate like this one. So if you want to be able to support that, definitely head over to my Patreon, which will also be linked down below, as a way of saying thank you. I post all my content over there early. We do some exclusive content over there. We do live streams, which we're actually going to be doing one tonight. So hopefully I see most of my patrons there tonight. We have a Discord server. We have a bunch of stuff. If any of that sounds interesting to you, or you just want to financially support the channel, definitely check that out. But anyway, with all that being said, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching. Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing another armor test here. I've got a level 3. Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing another armor plate test today. This is a level 3 plate. Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing another armor test plate today. We're on a live range, so it could get kind of noisy, so power through as best we can. Everyone, we're going to be doing another armor plate test today. Today we've got the LA Police Gear level 3. I have already done a level 3 plate test before from a different company. This one is going to